I know in my channel update I mentioned that I'm gonna do something different, and yes, I already have plans to do something after this. I wanted to get in the last say on this, as with The Last Supper. Biblical references aside, I wanted to do a series of tangents one last time. To those who may have already seen it, it is of no shortage that I'm not a fan of the Souls series. Even though I put in a lot of hours into it, not as much as other people, certainly nowhere near as much as good old Wings of Redemption, Lobos, or even 717, or any other actual player who's actually a fan of the game. I myself don't like to consider myself a fan as much as other people. Some people don't consider work fun, but the pay that it has more than makes up for it. And my request of payment is viewership and, of course, having chat interaction. And maybe actually sticking around instead of, well, watching the latest and hottest new game. Technically unrelated to this rant, though, is that there is currently a Namco sale going on Xbox, and despite Elden Ring being on sale, the other Souls games are not. Yeah, I don't need to explain how fucking retarded that is, but let's get into the meat and potatoes, ladies and gentlemen, because, oh my god, that Bloodborne emulation fiasco and other Sony practices are making people question why Sony just can't bother porting Bloodborne to PC officially. First of all, I'm pretty sure the reason Sony hasn't taken legal action is because the developers of the PS4 emulator has been very careful not to use Patreon as a marketing strategy like the PlayStation 3 emulator has done with Persona 5. And number two, considering the state of play that is Sony, do you really want Sony to waste resources on something when people will literally eat anything up they put out, whether it be Astrobot, the Spider-Man games, which I think are pretty good. They're not as good as Arkham, but I'd still say they're pretty okay. And even though I much prefer playing Spider-Man, people have clearly had more interest in God of War. Simultaneously, people think that Bloodborne is the one saving grace that will make Sony infinite money. Even though also simultaneously, Bloodborne isn't exactly the most easiest of games to pick up and play. It's just that it is the minority who is happen to be screaming the loudest, because they can't accept their 2015 game having such poor performance, and so someone just said, fuck it, I'm going to do my own PC port, and thus the PS4 emulator has come into play. And also considering that it took how many years for the PlayStation 3 emulator to be remotely stable, especially whenever you want to play games like Sonic Unleashed and Metal Gear Solid 4, who knows how much people have to invest on any gaming rig just to be able to play this one game. I guess it's bad when you do the same thing for a console, but on PC it's okay because you already have access to a plethora of games. Which is technically true, but you're still kind of doing the same thing that people want to give others crap for. It's just ridiculous. Bloodborne is not the only saving grace from Sony that could be given the light of day, whether it comes to having a PC port or just having other IPs that could be given another shot. It's mainly because of a Sony CEO mentioning that there isn't enough originality. And of course, when the news spread on XCOM, people mistook this for saying that Sony, as in the PlayStation systems, doesn't have original IPs. Instead, Sony was talking about every other thing outside of gaming as a whole. I want to go ahead and link the article, because every time Sony is brought up, people from the woodworks come out and mention that Sony is sitting on a bunch of IPs that they could be making money but couldn't. It's like the people who think that they need to bring something back like Def Jam, when maybe at best they could allow to use backwards compatibility, which I guess even then is considered a red flag for copyright. But and then for people who are saying that, oh well, you shouldn't support emulation, you have people saying that buying time splitters is considered giving money to the people who shut down the original games to begin with. So would you rather give money to those assholes that you compare to the devil, or would you rather just not give money to the assholes that you say that killed your perfect little game? Why do people think that Bloodborne is the only game that could revitalize Sony as a whole? Like, there are so many fucking PlayStation games that aren't even Sony exclusive, that never saw a release outside of the PlayStation gaming series that could be revitalized in some way. It's just that some people are stuck on Bloodborne because some YouTuber told them that this game is like HP Lovecraft meets Quake, but in a Souls-like setting, and now their pants are completely creamed with... In fact, we're going to go on a field trip, as Almighty _ Tevin has mentioned. We're going to go on GameFAQs.com. No, I'm not calling it Game Facts, because Game FAQs stands for Game Frequently Asked Questions. So I just call it Game FAQs. Anyway, let's go on to the lovable ride of PlayStation-only video games that are released only on the system, regardless if it's a Sony IP or not. So we'll have some fun with this. Oh look, Army Men 3D. Now, yeah, I know it's an old expired gaming IP, because it's basically plastic toy soldiers that would trigger modern day politics, because, you know, the Russian-Ukraine war or the Israel-Palestine war and all that shit. I think the latest game that came out was, let's see, a game on the PlayStation 2. A lot of these games hardly had any PC releases, aside from Army Men Sarge's War and some gaming compilation, I think. But yeah, there are hardly any games in the Army Men series that has a significant release. And I'm sure someone would say, oh, well, it's from a defunct company, so they can't use that. But still a game that never saw release anywhere else. And I'm using Army Men 3D specifically because that game was gas. Please remind me never to say that shit again. The Battle Arena Toshinden game. Now, yes, I know the original 2 games were released in PC. I think the first one was a DOS release, but a lot of the later games were PlayStation exclusive, with the latest game being a Toshinden, which was a Wii exclusive in Japan. But I'm still going to count it, as these games were primarily released on PlayStation, never to be ported anywhere else. But remember, guys, my exclusives. Let's see, Blossom Master Blossoming again. I fucking hate this game. I think this is one of the worst Blossom Master games that I've played in recent memory. Maybe besides Blossom Master 2. And there's a reason why the series never actually got any relevance until Blossom Master 0, but because the popular YouTubers didn't play it, or the people who claim to love retro gaming barely talked about the game, it remains not an underrated gem, but just dust in the wind. PlayStation exclusive. It killed the series, and then the series tried to come back with Overdrive, and it was literally a coagulation of what made the original NES game so good, but actually shit. At least going by what YouTubers told me, but still, it doesn't even look pleasing. Hellfire is even worse than Alien from Mega Man X5, and I will not change my mind on that. I fucking hate these modern day characters who think that they have to tell you things like you're a fucking dipshit. Bloody Roar. Now, yeah, I know these games are released in arcades, so I guess I technically can't count it. You know, the original games were released in arcades, but one version was released on the Xbox and GameCube, which was technically a revised version of Bloody Roar 3, and then the PlayStation 2 version was basically killed off by whoever, because Hudson Soft were weird, I guess. Still a game series that could revitalize the game in PlayStation as a whole, but it has to be Bloodborne. It has to have the comeback. Bubsy 3D. Oh wait, people say who asked for this, but people apparently fine with that one obscure zombie game on Xbox. Alright then. Bushido Blade 2. People want to really see these games come back. Both of these games are released exclusively on PlayStation, by the way. But the second game was published by Square, and the first one was published by Sony Computer Entertainment America, so they could definitely do it. It's just that people don't want these games to be neutered. Just fucking emulate them. There is no way you're gonna have a character like this come back, and you damn well know it. The Castlevania Chronicles, which I'm pretty sure is just a full-blown remake of the original Castlevania, released on PlayStation. But remember though, Symphony of the Night is the greatest game of all time, and everything besides the PlayStation version is other shit. Because the graphics are better. Sure. I would mention Fighting Force, so that game is getting a collection on modern platforms, and who knows if it's going to be any more stable than the original PC port. I think Mr. Swear might play the second game though. I'm pretty sure I remember saying that he really liked that one because he was a Dreamcast guy, not a PS2 kid. Disruptor. This is one of Insomniac's very first games released in the PlayStation, and it predates Spyro the Dragon. It was a really shitty Doom clone that nobody talks about, and it's also a single-player FPS game made for consoles. They could completely revamp it and turn it into the most homogenized modern-day PC port of a shooter ever made in existence. But remember, PlayStation exclusives are bad. A lot of the Gundam fighting games on PlayStation never got released anywhere else, whether it be Gundam the Battlemaster, Gundam the Battlemaster 2, and then Gundam Battle Assault 2, and yes, I'm saying that specifically because Gundam Battle Assault 1 is just fucking Bandai's horrible attempt of localizing a game that already had original pilots to begin with, and then when they tried to release Gundam Battle Assault 2 in Japan, did the whole Pokemon 1 game for the price of 2, and that just annoys me to no end, since Battle Assault 2 is literally a more complete package than what Japan got, which is hilarious to me. Okay, I think you get the idea for action games on PS1. Let's go on PS2. And there are, 16 pages. What games are released exclusively on PS2 that never saw the light of day anywhere else? Gungrave, a game that was released exclusively on PS2. It's an action shooter third-person arcade game released only on the PlayStation 2. People don't make emulators just to make this one game work. It could be the saving grace of Sony, and it's developed by Red Entertainment and published by Sega, so they could totally get this game back on modern shelves, of course. But it has an anime dude, so people gotta exile anime because titties and shit, so fuck you. But yeah, this is a game that could totally revitalize Sony as a whole. You know, because it's not like Bloodborne is a thing. Let's see. Oh yeah, War of the Monsters, an instant classic. Okay, well I guess it technically was re-released on PS4, but still, it's a game that was made only on PS2, but you know, it's not like PCSX2 came out just to emulate that one fucking game. So, you know. But it has to be Bloodborne, though. That is going to save Sony as a whole, guys. That's going to save Sony as an absolute whole of gaming. Oh no, that doesn't count because it's a Sony exclusive. Oh, the thing that you want to give Bloodborne a pass for, but fuck any other company that does it? Okay. Neo Contra, a game by Konami that they're probably never going to re-release because it's part of licensing hell. And I might as well throw in Contra Shattered Soldier in there because, well, Konami is certainly winning people over Silent Hill 2 Remake because of the composer and stuff, right? It's also thrown the original Silent Hill since that game was basically PlayStation exclusive. Should have remastered that instead of Silent Hill 2, but you know, people are suckers going by how much you people want to defend the fuck out of Konami nowadays, but it is what it is. You could also technically count Gundam Battle Assault 3 since I'm pretty sure that was also a PS2 exclusive, and even Robot Alchemic Drive, which was pretty much a PlayStation 2 exclusive with anime girls in it, so it's bad. Oh yeah, and Soul Calibur 3, which did eventually get an arcade exclusive release, so yeah. Remember people bought PlayStation 2s just to play Soul Calibur 3, but you're not allowed to do that with anything else because that's bad for the gaming industry? It's gonna save the PlayStation though. Also might as well throw in State of Emergency 2. I mean, yeah, the original is better, but you know, it's that could also revitalize PlayStation as a whole. But no, it has to be Bloodborne, guys. It has to be Bloodborne. Bloodborne is the only game that can revitalize PlayStation as a whole. Oh, here we go. Urban Reign, a game for the PS2. PlayStation 2 exclusive. But it has to be Bloodborne. It has to be Bloodborne that will save the gaming industry as a whole. It has to be Bloodborne. Because Bloodborne is such a perfect little game, you guys. It's just that perfect. Alright, and now on the PlayStation 3 lineup, but we're going retail only, because there could be like a shovelware amount of digital shit, so let's have a look. Might be cheating with this one, but you have Aquapaza. I know the game was also released in arcades, but it was also ported to PS3, but I guess that doesn't count because Tekken can get away with the exact same thing, but remember, it has to be Bloodborne that's going to save the gaming industry. Oh, here we go. Haze. This is a game that a lot of people really like, and is one of the only legacy icons in the PlayStation Store. This could absolutely save PlayStation as a whole, because it's a first-person shooter made on console, and it was supposed to get a PC port, but because how fucking awful it was, it never saw the light of day. And also, not to mention that it was developed by Free Radical Design, who made Time Splitters, but whoever want to play a first-person shooter on console, well, that's just for nerds and assholes who don't understand what good video games are, right? That could totally revitalize PlayStation as a whole, but it has to be Bloodborne, guys. It has to be Bloodborne. I'm not going to count Killzone for pretty much the exact same reasons. Killzone's one of the greatest games ever made on the Sony console, but shooters can only be played on PC, so fuck those pieces of shit. That game's a rip-off of Call of Duty. Let's see, Mag. Yeah, this game was only released on PlayStation 3, and it was an online-only game, so it would be the perfect selling point for Sony, because a lot of people like first-person shooter games. Lots of people don't play campaigns in first-person shooter games. I think people learned a lesson after Black Ops 3, so they said, fuck it. They just have to release a game on PC, and boom, Sony has an instant seller, because people love to play shooter games, people love to play multiplayer games, and, well, it can very well save Sony, you guys. It would be the greatest thing ever to exist. Someone's gonna be really mad at me. I don't fucking give a shit. People are fucking doing this to yourselves. I'm just fucking laughing at all you pain. This game's a PlayStation 3 game. I know it was also released on Vita, but still, this could absolutely save Sony as a whole, because it has a game that's only released on PS3. We didn't get that PlayStation 3 emulator working just for Persona, but no, it's actually for Pain. PlayStation also has Battle Royale. Okay, next game. All the various Ratchet & Clank games, but, you know, we have to praise Rift Apart like it's the objectively best game in the series because you have a gender-bent version of Ratchet, but without any fucking personality. Hey, look, the Resistance games. Those games never saw release on anything outside of PlayStation, and they were console shooters only on, well, Sony. They could absolutely vitalize those. But remember, console shooters are bad. Of course, there's also Tokyo Jungle. Can't forget about that game. And of course, also 3D Dot Game Heroes. Let's look at SOCOM, the pistol anyway. Oh look, every single game in this series was either released on console. Okay, there's one mobile game, but we're not fucking counting that because fuck that. Who the fuck wants to play a mobile shooter game? Okay, well it's a strategy game, but still. Can you imagine playing a fucking shooter game on a phone? What a bunch of losers and retards. Shooters are only playable on PC, you guys. Alright, just for shit's sake bonus, let's do a PlayStation Portable. There's still some great games in the system, it's just that a lot of companies ported that shit to there for some reason, including Power Stone. Let's see, I would count the City of Final Fantasy, but I think Square has made it absolutely clear they don't give a shit about the actual game. But remember, nobody buys Sony devices or any exclusives just for that one game, guys. Never unheard of. And if you do that, you are enabling developers to do shitty practices. Remember that. Don't do it. Don't buy a PSP for the City of Final Fantasy, you fucking asshole. Someone's gonna be really fucking mad at this. I give no fucks. You fucking people have done this to yourselves, I'm sorry. You fucking people who want to go on about this shit, you fucking done all this by yourselves. I was gonna count the two Printy games by Nippon Ichi Software of America, but the game did get released on Switch several years later. But remember, don't buy a Nintendo Switch for a game that was previously exclusive to PSP. You're a fucking asshole. You should buy the latest Mario and Zelda slop, right? Or Pokemon. There's like too many games to count on those. Oh wait, here we go. Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins. The best Ghosts and Goblins game, and even better than the one that they try to revitalize, because, you know, RE Engine's gonna save the series or whatever. But wait, nobody wants that. They just want Bloodborne on PS4. Or they want it on everything else. Right. I could also name like every fucking Capcom game ever made, but that would just be like another hour of me ranting about why fucking Capcom is just a piece of shit now. But yeah, I think you get the idea. Even just on the action games alone, there were so many fucking games that you can find, some of which I don't even like, that you could argue that could revitalize Sony as a whole. But remember, it has to be Bloodborne, you guys. The same fucking game that was developed by a company who doesn't believe in easy mode bullshit and wants you to get good. And if you don't do it this way, you're not playing the game as intended. You really think it's gonna fucking save Sony as a whole? You fucking people retarded. Now, speaking of racist slurs and degenerate downputs, I'm gonna actually have to find another project because this is just depressing.